Good evening. Welcome to Good Guy Sports. I'm Jackson Gerke, along with the two Blakes and Mike Roby. I'm I am Jackson Gerke, and before we get into our topics, we want to start us off with some sad news. With some sad news to report in the baseball world, where baseball legend Willie Mays has died at the age of 93. Um, um, He was a great player, as won the 1954 World Series with the Giants. Not He died at a great age. He just didn't. Obviously, 93 was a great age. Great age. Although I will tell you that our grandmother Joan Springer is 95 years old and still going strong, because of all the great care that she has over the Chancellor's Village that she's currently residing in. So for all the great care that she is, but Willie Mays was just one of the great baseball legends of all time, and won the 1954 World Series with the Giants, and before that played a long 10-year career with the Mets. Willie was by far one of the best players on the team, other than Barry Bonds, who had one of the greatest home run home run records of his career with the organization slash franchise it, it, in Giants history. Given the fact that he was that he was a 24 time All-Star, a Gold Glove Award winner, NL Rookie of the Year, and has leads the career in pretty much anything you think of. The Robert Clement Award, who was one of his teammates, that if you recall, was happened to be one of his teammates at the time back in the day, a long time ago, with the Mets, which I first read about, and also was the All Century team and the All Team, and then they will honor him later tonight at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama, which I will happen to be watching tonight with my parents on TV. I get to see it with Cardinals, but the but the able to be due for him in one of the ballparks he actually grew up playing in. Real really it really is just it really is just worth it, and to look back on, and the history of itself, for what the game for what the game for the game itself that has delivered, from
Sí,
what
no,
that has
es-
accomplished. So I do think that um Willie as a player was by far one of the greatest human beings of what he did for what he did as a politician for the country, outside of his playing career, and whether it's on or off the field, but also has accomplished what I think is one of the greatest legends, and behind only the great Hank Aaron, Ted Williams, among other players. So I do think he has a lot to say for, but I do think for what we have accomplished, for what Willie has accomplished throughout all of his playing career, and I think that Uncle Mike just knows about a lot of the history of the sport. I think he can just tell us more about what Willie has accomplished as a player, and what he did as a Giant, and for the Met, and for his playing career himself. For more about him, what I do know is that my sister is currently in San Francisco living in San Francisco right now, for work out there, and I'm sure that everybody in San Francisco, out in the Bay Area, listening has first heard about it. That really is a sad day for the city, and for the organization out there itself, because the ballpark used to be called AT&T before it merged with Oracle. So really, you think of the history of it and the championships they have won of the history. Yes, we have lost a great legend of 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 the sport, but you should be very proud for what he did as a player and accomplished, and for the team itself for what he did back in that time. And I think that
Yeah, Jack, why don't we let Mike jump in?
Yeah.
I think that
Mike's got
Willie
some good
did
perspective
it all
on
himself.
I think Mike's got some good perspective on Willie Mays. So why don't we let him maybe give us some interesting chat here.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Blake.
Thank you. So Willie Mays was by far the best center fielder in the history of all of baseball. When he was a teenager, he played with the Black Barons, who played at Rickwood Field. He was 16 years old and he broke into the Negro Leagues. I mean, that's just phenomenal.
Wow. Wow.
He ended his career with 660 home runs, but he spent 2 years in the Army and during the Korean War at the prime of his career. So one would think, what would his numbers have been? Another little bit of trivia. Some of you may have heard of Bobby Thompson's 1951 shot heard around the world when the Giants beat the Dodgers for the pennant. Well, Willie Mays was on deck. He was hitting next when Bobby Johnson hit the home run to actually win that game. But
Mike,
I mean,
isn't Rick Wood got known for deep fences as well? In other words, he could have had more home runs if he wasn't playing on such a huge ball field.
I don't know what the dimensions are, but I mean, you may be right with that. But he came up in 1950 with the Giants, and one of the things I was looking at a lot of his clips over the past couple days. One of the things that strikes me is he always looked like he was having so much fun playing. He just loved the sport of baseball, and he loved to talk about baseball. And I love this. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, and when he made the catch, the proudest thing he got the ball back into the infield in time to prevent the runners from advancing.
Jeez.
The runner on third base that they prevented from scoring was Larry Dodd, because they were playing the Cleveland Indians, and he was the one who broke the color barrier in the American League. So it's all surrounded by all sorts of different players and everything. But what a time! What a time for baseball. He will be missed.
I heard him talking about him today and said he loved to make the hard catches look easy, but he also enjoyed making the easy catches look hard. He said, you got to give a show to the fans. He's back to you saying he's always happy. He's like, you got to give the fans a show.
Yeah.
So he would intentionally make easy catches. I guess he would bobble them or whatever, just to add the show factors. He was like but he was Savannah Bananas, way before the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah. He was probably the father of the basket catch, because he would make that basket catch so he could take the ball out and throw it back in faster.
Wow.
But yeah, he just loved the game. The night he hit 4 home runs against the Milwaukee Braves, Hank Aaron was on the other team.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Was Rickwood his home stadium? What's his tie to Rickwood?
Yeah, he grew up in Alabama. He grew up in Birmingham, and that's where he went to high school. And when he was in high school, that's when he broke into the Negro Leagues. So he played at Rickwood Field. That was the first professional field he played at.
And they're playing the game
and
tonight.
they're playing the game
everything?
tonight. The Giants and the Cardinals.
That's crazy.
That's cool. And so they would have come in and obviously, I don't know, has Rickwood been playing games or has it been sitting?
Yeah, it's now a minor league field.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And
That's neat.
the Washington Post this morning had a great article about a gentleman, Bill Greason, 99 years old, and the oldest living Negro League player, who was a roommate of Willie's when they were both playing with the Black Barons together. And Greason was finally became a pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. And so now you have the Cardinals playing against Willie Mays' old team, the Giants, tonight. So it's
when he did that, were there minor league teams? Did the majors still have the single A, double A, triple A teams when he broke into the majors, or was it just the major league teams and that's it? College.
No, the majors always had minor league teams.
So he skipped the minor league teams. He just went from high school straight to the pro team.
Yeah.
Gee, at 16.
Well, at 16 he was in the Negro Leagues, and then he finally broke into the Giants. Signed him in 1950. They gave him a $4,000 signing bonus.
Gosh, jeez.
And he breaks into the majors. Yeah, because when Jackie Robinson came up, they put him in he was playing with Montreal, and Montreal was the AAA affiliate for the Brooklyn Dodgers at the time. So they always had these, the minor league affiliates and teams.
Wow. Who is the Rickwood? Who are they affiliated with now?
I don't know what minor league team plays there. But
I'm gonna have to look that up and see who.
Jackson, do you remember when we went? I don't know if Blake was there or not, but me, you, and your dad went to watch a game, a Tampa Bay Soccer Rowdies game, and as the field has a lot of history on it. I think Jackie Robinson played on that field where they now play soccer. So I don't know if he also played on that field in down in Florida as well, in Tampa Bay.
You know what? I think he did, Blake. He might have at the time before the Tampa Bay Rays Tropicana Field was built. They actually had their own spring training home down there near down in St. Pete nearby before the ballpark there was built, and that's where they would have their where they would have what I would call the travel spring training ball team, where would happen to actually go to one of those locations for like an actual spring training game during that time. So that's where they would actually were the spring training games and practices were held at the time prior to the Tampa Bay Rowdies game being built. So what you're referring to is back in those days, they would have the playing fields and have a bunch of land and a bunch of players just doing a bunch of travel camps. I believe for those teams, and that's what Jack Robinson's actually experienced at the time, and that's what they would actually would have
Jackson,
back then.
question: Who was older, Jackie Robinson or Willie Mays? I needed some perspective on these guys.
I think
Mike, do you know?
I think let's see.
Jackie would have been older.
Although I feel like Willie Mays died in '93, so I think I am. I think
Jackie was born in 1919.
Yeah, he was probably like a decade
and
older, right?
Willie Mays. Yeah. So yes, you and I are on the same agreement. Jackie Robinson, I agree. He is much older than Willie is.
But they played in the league at the same time, right? They
Yes.
played against each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a video clip of Willie Mays running home, sliding in, against the Dodgers, Roy Campanella is the catcher, and Willie's ruled safe on the field. The third baseman, the guy who was playing third base, comes running down to argue with the home plate umpire, and he turns around, and the number on his uniform for the Dodgers was number 42. And then you think Willie's number was 24 and Jackie's number was 42.
Wow.
It's just those types of coincidences and everything just kind of, they get to me. I just think it's just wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's, whenever one of these all-time great players passes away and you see all of the admiration and all of the great stories, that's kind of a good sense of how meaningful and impactful.
Yeah.
We saw something similar with Bill Walton recently when he passed away during the NBA Finals, and
Yeah.
obviously there was lots of admiration for him in Boston and Portland and all of the NBA, and obviously Willie Mays probably takes that up to an even higher degree given his legendary status in the game, and obviously he's just a really historic player of the game, so he's definitely going to be a big loss for the game. But it is very crazy how the planning, how the scheduling worked out for this for the game at his home stadium in Rickwood Field where he started playing. So yeah, I know the MLB will probably do him right with the great service before and during the game. So definitely one to look out for.
Absolutely. And all the games last night had a moment of silence and a tribute for Willie in baseball. So that was wonderful.
Yeah.
I wish I'd
absolutely.
gotten to see him play, but Washington at the time was an American League city. And,
so you might have caught him at the very end, maybe
I
like
would
in the
have
70s
been able
or
to
something.
catch him at at the tail end of his career, but
Yeah.
but he was always in the National League.
Mm.
He did play in the '69 All-Star game that was held at RFK Stadium, but alas, I did not get to attend. But anyway,
Very nice. Very nice.
so Jackson, what about the Celtics?
Yeah. What about him? Well, they won the NBA championship last night.
What? Monday night.
I'm sorry. Yeah, right. On Monday night, and well, I'll tell you what. Going back to Game 4, they got embarrassed on the road against Luka and Kyrie in Dallas. Well,
Yeah, but they were already up 3-0.
right,
3-0
but
though.
but that was Game 4. But then you fast forward to Game 5, where the Celtics flipped the script and they do it in front of their home crowd, and they somehow found a way to get it done, thanks in large part of Jaylen Brown, who was named Most Valuable Player award over Jason Tatum, which I don't think I find surprising, but it is for most people. But I don't. I wasn't surprised at all because I think Jaylen Brown, unlike what Jason Tatum did, played his best game that night, and he was named Finals MVP. And Tatum and Jaylen Brown were just making some great shots, and they were able to get him down. And Al Horford, who played in the league for a long time, was also a part of this team. And Porzingis, who actually returned in the lineup after being injured in the last few games, played the more minutes than he usually does. So I do think that in Game 5, it was really an off night for Luka and Kyrie, and Derek Wiley the third were just really just they were making they had some great looks, and some of the shots went in. Other times they weren't. So I just think that the Celtics were just a better team that night than they were in Game 4, and they found a way to close it out in front of their crowd at a TD Garden. They found a way to get it done. They have won and they're NBA champions, and they have surpassed the Los Angeles Lakers to break the tie for the most NBA championships combined. I think most of us in the NBA world are gonna have to digest all that. But yeah, I was listening to Stephen A. and the rest of the sports analysts out there saying that the Lakers have the most appearances in the NBA overall, but the Celtics just had less than that for their appearances for their appearances in the finals. Only that the Celtics have broke the tie, and and the Lakers have like 19, at least 18. Sorry, Lakers have 17, Celtics 18, and they surpassed and becoming one of the biggest to be one of the most championships won for any NBA franchise out there. Given the fact that San Antonio being one of them, although they're nowhere near the Celtics for the most titles. The Bulls back in the 90s, Magic Johnson, and those guys, Michael Jordan, Tim Duncan, to name a few. One of those players combined. Um, Patrick Patrick Ewing and a bunch of other players. Cabri Alger the Bar also they made field for most of the for one of the most NBA titles for by far. Now the question is for all of us on sports talk radio
Dynasty?
and for you, Blaker, he is, are the Celtics considered a dynasty? I have to I'm going to have to wait and see and find out, because even though it's great you won the NBA championship, when you came close to 2 years ago, losing to the Warriors in six, in your own building on the same night where you just flipped the script 2 years later, and now winning in front of your whole fans, and then and then and then finally they tasted for winning the Larry O'Brien Trophy in front of your home base crowd. That's a start for what Joe Mazzulla has accomplished for this team.
It's a good start. You're right.
Leadership,
Agreed.
right.
It's a good
It's
start.
too bad
Even,
that-
so
It's too bad their
yes,
head coach is so old.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
no,
So yes,
no, Jackson. No, I was going to answer your question. I do think, and Mike's right as well. Joe Mazzulla is
The youngest coach to win a championship
Yeah, I
at
think that kind of
35.
that's definitely gone under the radar. I think in terms of like how kind of unprecedented that is, and maybe it was the circumstances. He was like an assistant that was promoted and kind of thing, but yeah, no. To answer your question, it's always my favorite part of a post championship TV and radio news cycle, is everyone says, is this going to be a dynasty? And back to back three-peat. And we saw it, I think, we see it every year. We saw it last year when Denver won. They said, oh, Denver's unstoppable. Who's going to stop Denver? They're going to win every title. And then, it ended up not happening this year, obviously. So I think it's a little early for dynasty talk. I think right now the big win for Celtics fans is getting the +1 over the Lakers in the old banner column, but I think it's a little early for the dynasty. Although most of their players are also young as well.
Yeah.
Brown, Tatum in their prime still as well, right, Mike?
They should enjoy it while they can. But the one thing that you look at the box score, the Celtics spread out the scoring, where they stifled the Mavericks big men. The big men for the Mavericks in Game 5 only scored a total of 22 points. You're not going to win too many championships when the guys on the inside, your big men, are only scoring 22 points. Whereas you had the Celtics had many more guys in double digits. And I think it was said I think Blake said it last week. They play like a team. It's a team sport. It's not just one guy. And the Celtics epitomized the team play. And they were probably, one of the best offensive teams and one of the best defensive teams at, all at the same time, and that's what wins championships. So it's going to be exciting next year.
When who won the MVP? Brown.
Jaylen Brown.
Yes. Yeah, Finals MVP. Yeah.
When Jaylen Brown was getting taken out, I think it was in Game 7, and he looked at the coach and said, "Don't take me out. I want to guard. I want to continue to guard
Luka.
their best player." At that point I was like, this is what wins championships. When that's what you want to do, that wins championships. Don't take me out. I'm going to continue to shut them down.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, I think Brown is a worthy winner for Finals MVP because he kind of epitomizes what the Celtics were all about this year and how they were able to win a championship is, like Mike was just saying, both sides of the ball. So take Game 5, for an example. He wasn't really making as much of an offensive impact as he was maybe in earlier rounds or earlier in the series. But what he did do is play excellent defense on Luka, which if you're able to slow down Luka, you're able to slow down Dallas. And so that clip that Blake was referencing, I saw as well, and thought it was great. And you just can see the mentality that Mazzulla and the entire team has, where they don't just want to get highlight threes and dunks. They want to play good defense and they want to shut down the other team. And they did a great job of that the whole series, and they did a good job of that the whole season. And so I think Mike is spot on, and we've been saying it for a while that this team is built. It's a sum of its parts mentality, offensively and defensively. So when all those pieces are firing, it's tough to see them being slowed down, particularly in the Eastern Conference, I think. So yeah, I think it's definitely set up for them to stake a big claim on the East for sure. There's still some talent, obviously, in the Western Conference, but yeah, I mean, you got to say 1 to 5, 1 through 8. This team is really well built, so I think got to give credit to the front office as well.
Well, and there's got to be something to be said about winning the MVP in the NBA Finals, and that in your spare time you're giving TED Talks on astrophysics for MIT. I mean, if you guys look up Jaylen Brown a little bit, what a fascinating guy.
He's
brilliant,
really smart guy.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think Brown and Tatum they're just a great. I mean, gosh, I think every NBA team wishes they were in the Celtics position right now, having Brown and Tatum, who are just two great teammates. They get along with each other. There's no sort of rivalry brewing there. I'm sure Tatum was happy that. I'm sure he would have wanted to win the Finals MVP himself, but it seems like he was very happy that Brown won it. And so, yeah, I mean, gosh, having those two guys alongside some of the veteran pieces. Jackson mentioned Al Horford earlier. Great to see him get a ring after so many years.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of tough playoff exits in Atlanta, in particular in the past. So great to see him get his ring. Porzingis, maybe people were writing him off after his past couple of seasons. They thought he would just be rotting in DC for a while, but he got his ring. No offense, Mike. And then Drew Holiday as well. I shouted him out last week. I think it was, for some of the defense that he was playing, but crazy how they were able to get him this year from Milwaukee, who a team that was supposed to be one of their rivals, and they kind of reconfigured their team, and they probably, I don't know. That's just it is kind of crazy to me how Milwaukee ended up. I guess they indirectly gave him to Boston because they shipped him to Portland as part of the deal for Lillard, and then they ended up flipping him to Boston and ended up making a huge impact in this playoff. So, and then it's a pretty remarkably well built team. So, I think a lot of years you see, more top heavy teams like a Jokic kind of carrying his team, although Denver's got plenty of great players too. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I mean, this just a really well built team from the starters to the bench. So it'll be tough to see who's able to stop them, right, Jack?
That's right. Something to keep an eye on for the offseason, to what what lies ahead for the team and for the NBA going forward. And just to follow up before we move on to our next topic for our show uh, um is um is that the is that the Celtics, the team is currently in Miami for what they call a after party, but is supposed to be back in Boston in time for the parade on Friday, um, to watch their hometown fans celebrate their team after their last championship for the first time since 2008, with the Paul Pierce "anything is possible" chant. And I'm sure that the Celtics had their own chance in their post game interviews last night, with their own words, unlike what Paul Pierce did, among many others. But I'm sure whatever the team has in store, and for the city of Boston itself, where it knows how to win championships, and for its one of the toughest and biggest sport markets out there, that knows how to win championships, for out of the four major pro sports, in a town that they have lived with and know what it's like, and how the city, and how they call it, and the reason why they call it the city of champions. They will witness that on Friday, and watch their team celebrate with the fans, and cheering them on as they as unlike what other sports cities do, including where Uncle Mike and Blake Lumberger reside, and for us where we used to live most of our years, and for where we are now, that they have duck boats, and they will get them out, and they'll get them ready for the Celtics to celebrate like they do, and like they do, with their many other sports champions parades that they had there, for for many years, like they did before. They will get him out again after their last championship parade there, which I believe happened to be the last Super Bowl championship, for the New England Patriots um back in the 2018 season, slash 19, I believe, with Tom Brady's being his, possibly being his last year, as their franchise starting quarterback. Was their last time that the city has hosted a championship parade. Well, Boston's going to experience that after all these years later, with the Celtics, and they cannot wait to see how it unfolds, for 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 the team itself, and for the streets of the city of Boston.
So I heard today that the rumor has it a Blue Devil alum is the new coach of the Lakers.
That's right. That's right, Mike. I was reading an article on it, and yes, JJ Redick is from my sources is is projected to most likely be their next coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. It is a 4-year deal. He will be the next coach of Los Angeles Lakers after they thought they were getting, Dan Hurley, who was supposed to be their coach. Instead, he will remain, with his family, continuing the free-peat at UConn. Redick, who is a coach who has no experience on coaching than he does, in the broadcast booth with ESPN, with or on his own podcast show, that he does. This will be his first gig at it. Redick, as you mentioned, Mike, a former Blue Devil who had played under Coach K, who one of the greatest college basketball coaches, at that time, for the sport. Will get his best shot at it with the Lakers. now you think about it, he hosts now for Reddick's side. I read all about it on ESPN that I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm going to say it that Reddick and LeBron were on a podcast together prior to this, so maybe something tells me they have a great
Yeah.
connection to one another about this. So
That is correct. Yeah.
yeah,
You know what they Reddick calls his podcast?
what's that?
The Old Man and the Three.
It's a
Mm.
good name. Yeah. Have you guys listened to? I've listened to. I've seen a lot of his clips and stuff on YouTube from his podcast interview. And it's a good show. He does a really good job at it. Have you guys
Mhm.
ever heard any of it?
I haven't, but I just I know he was big on hitting the 3-pointers.
That was that was his game. Definitely that was his scouting report coming out of Duke for sure. And that's definitely what he
Yeah,
that was
coming
his
up with that name
bread and butter. Yeah, that was definitely his bread and
that's a
butter.
great name.
Yeah, no, he does a good job with the media stuff, and he is obviously calling the NBA finals, like Jackson mentioned. And I think on his podcast, he mostly interviews former players, lots of good, funny stories, and then he analyzes.
Well, he'll need that as a leg up in LA to be in on the media.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely got his work cut out for him, doesn't he? I mean, on one hand, you can look at it where he's got all of these experienced guys, LeBron and AD, to lean on. So it's not like he's walking into a rebuilding project, but kind of low key. Like, is he kind of walking into a rebuilding project? Because this team is good and they can compete, but do we?
When
I mean, do we?
they bring Bronny in,
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'll have to.
Mhm.
He'll have to manage. I mean, LeBron should just be basically like his co-coach, essentially. That should just be his unofficial title. But I just think this team is a ways away from competing in the Western Conference after what we saw this past postseason, to be honest. So it's a really it's a gutsy call from the Lakers. I mean, my guess is that LeBron had a lot of input into this. Obviously, like we mentioned, they're obviously friends. They literally do a podcast together, so they're well acquainted with how they think about the game of basketball. But at the same time, maybe this could end up backfiring on them and saying, "Oh, well, we shouldn't have let LeBron pick the coach." Not saying like they let
yeah.
LeBron
Well, the
pick the
Lakers
coach,
haven't
but
had any stability in coach since Phil Jackson.
Lakers have really not had any coach stick around for a long time. Yeah, since Phil left, you're right. So, it's gonna be a tough task for JJ, but obviously, he's a smart guy. He played under some great coaches, Coach K at Duke, obviously. And the way that he talks about basketball, he obviously understands the game really well. If we ever listen to any of his media work. So yeah, best of luck to him.
That's going to be a good challenge for him. So I'm sure that's probably why he took it. I mean,
Definitely.
a big
And
challenge.
I don't think the expectations are going to be like win the Western Conference in his first year or anything like that. I think they're realistic about how they have to kind of retool this roster. But like you said, we'll see what happens with the draft and free agency coming up here soon.
Yeah, the Lakers had a long way to go to catch up for catching Denver and Minnesota and Dallas in the West, or even their newest rival, or I would say Steve Ballmer's Arena Clippers. So yeah, they got a lot of catching up to do. And to your point about coaching hires, Monty Williams, I feel like was also a candidate for the Lakers. Yeah, that would be a bad hire for your organization. That is not a coach you would want to have in your organization because he gets fired all the time, and he's not the best coach for not the best fit for for LeBron or Anthony Davis or
Yeah, I don't think Monty's a bad coach or anything like that. I think you're being a bit harsh there. I just think the Detroit situation, I don't think any coach really would succeed in that situation right now. So they kind of need to just have a rethink about their franchise as a whole, to be honest. So I think Monty will be back. He might take a year off and then jump into a job next year, I'd say.
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
He still had 5 years and 65 million left on the contract.
Yeah, that was a big deal for sure.
But finishing 14 and 68 didn't help him.
No.
And then the Lakers, during LeBron's time. Okay, so the Lakers, Yeah, they are behind the Celtics now for championships. But you think about it, like I said, they had the most appearances overall um for being in the finals. The only one that wouldn't count is the 2020 when they were in the COVID year when they were in the bubble when they won the championship. That's one where I would scratch my head in that one I wouldn't count. So that title, at least that was title at the time that LeBron and Anthony Davis um one that got done, but it was but that game was in the bubble, and that one and sorry, that one's not going to count. So
What, you don't count the 2020 title?
yeah, but I would, but
So you're only giving LeBron 3 rings then. Is
yes,
that what you're saying?
because that one doesn't
So
count.
he's 3
No
behind
fans
MJ
and
in your
not the
head.
same environment. It's just not a, it's just not a it's just not a it's just not the same feel.
I still count it. I still count it personally,
Yeah,
but everyone's entitled
that's
to
all
their
I'm
own
saying.
opinion.
So
But he did it with 3 different teams.
right, Cleveland,
Miami.
Miami, and the Lakers. So yeah,
And whoever drafts Bronny next year.
Yeah. Whoever drafts Bronny next
maybe
year.
if LeBron James retires, maybe Bronny can take his place and step into his role and be their next star player once LeBron just closes the career. I think that's what my my prediction is.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. I think the draft is next week, so
All right,
it
so
will definitely be.
we will talk more about. We will definitely follow that story in the for the months and years for the months ahead. We will continue to moderate here in Good Guy Sports, and we will let you know if we know anything that breaks. We will continue to follow that story. As soon as it breaks, we will have it for you. All right, let's move on now to hockey, where the Edmonton Oilers stave off elimination for the second time in a row, thanks in large part to Connor McDavid playing on a whole nother level. And if you think about it, now they are considered the favorites to win the Cosmine Trophy for Connor McDavid and one of his teammates, who are now co-favorites to win the Cosmine Trophy. Thanks in large part because in Game 4, they took a hat trick on beating Serbalski and the Panthers, and the Oilers power play finally got going. They are back in this thing. They have forced a Game 6, and something
Dragging them back to
yes,
Edmonton.
and back to Alberta, and something tells me they are going to do something that's never been done before since the 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs. Win in reverse and come from behind and win Game 7 on Monday at Sunrise, and Connor McDavid will win the Stanley Cup and surpass the great Wayne Gretzky. He will have a great setup.
He's going to surpass Gretzky?
Yes, he is going to surpass.
You know, Gretzky won a lot of championships.
I know, but Connor McDavid will set up new records, and he will score more goals, and he will get more shots at it, and the Connor McDavid and the Oilers, they are going to force a Game 7 and win in Sunrise, Florida, to capture and win it for the Canadians north of the border since 1993, and they are going to get their wish by bringing it home to Connor McDavid and win the Cup since 1993.
Well, the Oilers certainly had the Panthers' number in Game 5. The first goal they scored was they were shorthanded. They had a guy in a penalty box, and they still scored. And then they scored 2 on the power play, which they hadn't been doing so much. But you got McDavid scoring 4 points in Game 4 and then 4 points in Game 5. So I think he's back.
I agree. I agree.
The momentum is all on the Oilers.
And the pressure is all on the Panthers now because, yeah, you have a 3-2 series lead, but then all of a sudden, the players just keep getting tired and their backs are against the walls and they can never find a way, and they'll never find a way to close out a series. The Panthers, as a franchise, as you look at them, they do not have a great record of closing out a game clinching series in the Cup final ever in franchise history for this team. And Paul Boriski and Matthew Tkachuk and those guys just seemingly, something tells me they cannot find a way to get it done in game clinching games, and their backs are against the wall. They cannot find a way to get it done. They'll never close out a series. That's just how I feel about those fans. They're feeling pressure. They're going to feel the pain, and they're just going to be it's just going to be tough one to swallow for them. They
Yeah,
have
well,
great Stanley Cup
let's see. I
playoff
mean,
runs, but they are
Florida's
not going to be winning the Stanley Cup Finals in Game 6 and 7. It's just not going to happen.
Okay,
Edmonton's
well,
going to come behind and win it
you
all.
seem pretty confident. I mean, I appreciate the confidence coming from you. And listen, watching McDavid in Game 5, it's hard to argue against Edmonton right now. They've definitely got a lot of momentum. But Florida still got 2 chances to win this thing. Let's not forget that. And Game 7 back down there in Sunrise is not going to be an easy task. But yeah, I mean, watching McDavid in that Game 5 was incredible. Some of that one goal where he just basically skated past some of the Panthers skaters like they were just field goal posts, just going in and out. It was he's
Just
a really
like they were Capitals.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, I mean, what a player he is, and he's been lights out in these past couple of games. So if he keeps that up, then yeah, Edmonton are going to be tough to stop, and particularly in this Game 6 on it's Friday, it's tomorrow night, right?
Tomorrow night.
Right. Yep.
We know that crowd's going to be raucous.
Oh yeah.
And so if McDavid is able to replicate his offensive performance at home tonight, then Game 7's Game 7. Anything can happen. Has it ever happened where a team from 3-0 has overturned?
Yeah,
a
Jackson
deficit?
said it earlier in 1942 is the last time it happened. Toronto Maple Leafs came back from down 3 games to none.
And back then they didn't wear helmets and there was no color TV. So think about it for a second.
They use like a piece of bread for the puck as well, or
Yeah, it was frozen.
a frozen bread, like a frozen piece of like sausage or something was the puck. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, we say it all the time in the NBA. We saw it this year with the Celtics Mavericks series where Boston won up 3-0, and it's pretty much over. Hockey, you can say there's a bit more variance, right? Where a random deflection here or there, a hot goaltender, or an attacker who's on fire, and like the case of McDavid, can swing a series. So, but yeah, it's surprising. The first 2 games, Florida pretty much dominated for the most part at home. Edmonton couldn't really get a sniff, but that's kind of why we see adjustments being made in a series, right? And it's much different than just playing a team once in the regular season and then playing them again in a couple of weeks. You've got time to prepare for your opponent, and so it seems like Edmonton made some pretty good adjustments after the first couple of games, and they barely lost Game 3. So
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm not going to make any bold predictions like Jackson is, but I will say I'm excited to watch the game tomorrow night for sure.
That should be a lot to look forward to for what Edmonton team shows up and what they have in store for those home crowd fans to give something to cheer about. Do it for the country and do it for the nation, for the Canadians north of the border. They'll be very excited and a lot to cheer about for star player. It's going to be rockless down in Rogers Place up there in Alberta. I tell you what, it'll be loud and they'll be into it. That's for sure. Let's move on to baseball now and talk some injury news that I want to discuss. So the Yankees add Tim Hill, who in the starting rotation because they are banged up and struggling with their bullpen, and then Judge is back in the Yankees after getting hit hit bat by a pitch, I believe, in 2 days. So that's where we are right now for the Yankees. But I mean, look, they have the best record in baseball overall, but should we be concerned about their injuries with a banged up bullpen? And Anthony Rizzo is missing out for quite some time. Although Aaron Judge is looking like to be what appears to be to me that they has a game time decision to make up for his mind, and if you're a Yankees fan, yeah, you feel great that you have the best record in the majors, but yet without Judge or without your bullpen and your team and your rotation and for your star players, I might be a bit concerned. What say you, Mike?
Well, the Braves go up to New York to play the Yankees this weekend. So that's going to be kind of tough. At least Sean Murphy's starting to find his bat, which is good for the Braves. Yankees got Garrett Cole back, but he just pitched the other day, so I don't think he will pitch this weekend against the Braves. But he did okay his first time back, but I'm sure the Yankees are glad to have him. But they have turned into be a juggernaut. But I'm not sure how the Orioles game, but the Orioles have been playing them tough. I'm not sure who won today for the Orioles. Last time I saw the score, it was 5-4 Orioles.
Baltimore's up big in that one, yeah.
Yeah.
It was later innings.
The update now that I got for you, Mike, is Baltimore is up. I think Baltimore is up 11-4 or something like that. So
okay. Wow.
Yeah,
So all right.
Yes. Baltimore is up 11-4. Bottom fifth.
Yeah.
So it does seem like they're not particularly scared of that matchup, Baltimore. If they face, which seems likely, they come up against them maybe in the AL in the DS or CS.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't be particularly scared of the New York team, despite being behind them as of right now, right?
Yeah, they're behind them, but I mean,
not by much.
Still got a lot. Yes, we still got a lot of season to go. I would still think Orioles would be my pick for winning the AL East.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think that pitching will catch up to the Yankees eventually. No,
mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's this weekend for our sake in Atlanta, but I'm not particularly scared of the Yankees pitching minus Cole, obviously, but they've got their bats, and Judge is obviously Judge, so maybe look for a high scoring series this weekend up there in the softball field of Yankee Stadium. There should be a lot of home runs this weekend.
Well, hopefully the Braves pitching is stellar this weekend.
It's gonna need to be. We're gonna see some high scoring games, I would imagine. The ball's gonna be jumping off the bat up in the Bronx this weekend, I'd say.
And Olsen and Riley still need to find their bats. They're both hitting right around 250 or a little bit lower.
Right. Speaking of the Braves, saw a clip the other day where a former manager had a little bit of a temper tantrum and ended up taking 2 bases out of the mounts, and also went behind the pitcher's mound and used the rosin bag as a grenade and threw it towards home plate. Do you remember this? I think he got tossed quickly after. And when he left, he took 2 of the bases with him. Do you remember this?
Is that Bobby Cox?
It wasn't. I don't think it was Bobby Cox. So I don't know if it was an assistant manager, but
He
he
certainly
just
had a
walked
temper
out.
as well. Yeah.
They kicked him and he took 2 bases. Maybe it was Bobby Cox. He took 2
No,
bases.
yeah, I think I know the clip that I think it was a minor league manager, Blake. I think that's like a famous sort of like manager meltdown. I believe.
Oh,
I remember seeing
Okay,
that clip
okay.
somewhere where he where he takes the bases and that's a great one. You love a good. I mean, I guess you do see umpire meltdowns nowadays, but I guess maybe they're a bit more careful because everyone's mic'd up and the umpires. It's mostly just balls and strikes these days. And umpires still have a pretty quick quick trigger finger about throwing guys out even nowadays, right? So
Lane Thomas for the Nationals got tossed the other day for arguing balls and strikes.
yeah, it's not going to stop them. It's always going to happen. It seems like despite the penalty for it. So
That's why they call it the unwritten rules of baseball, Mike.
you never argue balls and strikes, but pretty much everyone does. So
Yeah. Well, I was watching the clips of Angel Hernandez
Yes.
celebrating his retirement, and somebody
yeah.
has a montage of his 20 worst calls.
They're so good.
There's so many bad ones in there. Yeah.
Oh God.
He called a strike when he previously called a timeout. and the pitch was like was 3 balls lengths off the plate anyway. It's like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Hopefully they move to an automated system eventually. You would have
Yeah.
thought I mean there are good umpires, I guess, but I guess they have really good unions, so it's hard to get rid of the old ones that are
Yeah.
Who are
Well,
they gonna
their eyesight.
If they go automated, who are they going to argue with? We're going to miss out on the who are they going to argue?
With the
argue
AI,
with
I
somebody.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the umpire at that point would just be there to count as well as call the plays at the plate.
Calls. Yeah.
But the rest of it.
Just it's simple. Just do what the wiffle ball leagues do. Put a sheet metal or PVC pipes, and if it goes through it, it's a strike. If it misses, it's a ball. They made it pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, the Nationals are going to be in Colorado this weekend, and then we go from Colorado to the Padres, and then on the way home we stop at Tampa Bay and play your Rays there, Blake.
Now, how are they doing this year?
The Rays?
Uh-huh.
They're playing 500 ball pretty much. Not great to their usual expectations. No.
Maybe they didn't like the announcement of a new stadium. Maybe they didn't like the announcement of staying in Tampa Bay. Maybe that's what all they needed to hear, and it just got them in a sad mood. Maybe they wanted to move to Tampa and get out of the Bay.
Yeah. They probably wanted to move to Charlotte.
Well, speaking of Charlotte guys, we got a little Gastoni's got a baseball team. We got rid of our one last year. We got another one in there. I don't know what league it is, but it's apparently for guys in the majors that are, trying to get back in the majors. I'm really not sure. It's not an affiliate. They're not affiliated with any team.
Beer league softball?
No. I think some of the guys on the team will bounce back up to the majors after. It's kind of like a scout league where scouts can come watch them play. But team names, I don't know if I told you guys this already. If I did, stop me. But Gastonia, so the options are Gastronauts, the Gastonia Gastronauts baseball team, in the Gastonia Bologna.
Gastonia Bologna.
The Gastonia Bologna, the top 2 names right now.
Well, at least it's not flatulence.
Yeah.
Could be worse. All right, Jack, you want to get us wrapped up? We're out of time.
Yep,
it looks
that concludes Good Guys Sports.
Give a little update on our scheduling as well, right?
Yes. Good Guys Sports, and that a reminder that we will take a break for 2 weeks leading up to summer break. So So the next time we're doing a sports show, we will be on summer break, and returning in mid-July is when our next show is going to be. But until then, have a great summer, and we will see you guys back here in the start of NFL training camp and football season. I'm Jackson Gerke, you guys sports signing
Yeah.
off. Have a great summer, everybody, and we will talk to you then.
Enjoy your 4th of July hot dogs.
Absolutely. Even the vegan
I
ones.
will. I will.
Even the
Yes, even the beans and burgers and fries and corn. Yeah, just getting better than that.
Yum. All
All
right.
right.
right,
Thanks,
see ya.
everyone.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good one.